Now, while watching the second movie, we came across that scene where, well, I'll let you find out. But Sakura and Shiro make this really cool tamagoyaki set, and I felt like, you know, I need that in my life. Tamagoyaki, it's all in the name on this one. I mean, we're gonna just need a bunch of eggs for this tamagoyaki, and you're also going to need your tamagoyaki pan. I legitimately only use this kotobuki for tamagoyaki. I don't use it for anything else. For this, I'm gonna need about 8 whole eggs, and the reason for that is because of the size of my pan. Now, if you have a smaller kotobuki, feel free to use less eggs, but for the size of this, we do have to go with those 8 eggs. In addition to that, I'm gonna use 1 tablespoon of mirin and 1/2 teaspoon of rice vinegar, along with a small pinch of salt. Feel free to add in whatever you want at this point, but you don't need too much. We want to break this down just a bit, not to where you incorporate a ton of air, but to where all of the yolks and all of the whites are completely broken down and smooth. Now, what I also like to do is make sure I have a little cup worth of oil. This is a blend of peanut oil and canola oil, but just make sure it's a nice neutral oil for this. You don't really want to use a nice olive oil or anything like that because it can give it too much flavor. Now, what I like to do to make sure that this is ready and hot enough is put just a little bit of egg in your pan, and if it cooks within a couple of seconds, you're ready to go. After greasing your pan, take a measuring cup just to keep the layers of egg even, and I like to drop in about 1/3 of a cup of egg and get it cooking to where it's completely cooked and you don't have any runny egg left. Now we have to attempt to roll the omelet. This is actually quite difficult with chopsticks for this size, but I try it anyways, and honestly, using a spatula is going to be your best bet so you don't have to go ahead and use your hands to get everything nice and tucked. Once everything is tucked away, go ahead and push this back to one side or the other and grease the pan once again. After you grease your pan, grab another portion of your egg, pour it into your pan, and make sure you try to get some of that egg underneath the pre-rolled tamago. This is pretty important so that way you have all the layers adhering together. If you have any other spots that don't quite fill, you can take a little bit more egg and pour it on it. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about it. Now we need to reflip this entire thing. Rolling the egg is actually the most difficult part of this, and once you get good at it, you can actually become quite efficient. So you're going to keep building layers until you're completely out of egg. And now what I also did is I also moved the egg to the bottom handle side of the pan and started pouring the egg that way. Because the egg started getting so thick, I couldn't actually roll it towards me without it tearing. In hindsight, using a smaller kotobuki would have been ideal. Now, once you have your last layer locked and loaded, go ahead and press this thing to the bottom flat side of your pan, and we're gonna let this hang out for about 10 to 15 minutes. If you don't let it rest, it can fall apart if you go to cook it while it's still hot. Now for a little bit of cheap miso. We have made something like this before, but what we're going to do while the egg is resting is go ahead and heat up just about 1.5 cups worth of water with 1.5 tablespoons worth of your dried bonito dashi. I use this quite a bit just to make a quick dashi. And to this, I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of white miso just to bring up that nice umami flavor. We're going to bring this up to a simmer and then immediately turn it down so we don't overcook the miso. What are you guys doing? What is happening up there? Now for the omakase. Omakase just means chef's choice, and for this I'm going to be using a little bit of fresh green onion for the miso soup, and you can throw this on the egg as well. And then I'm also going to take a nice chunk of firm tofu. I like to put this in the miso soup just like Shiro does, but it's also very traditional in a miso soup. The type of tofu is totally up to you. I like to use firm tofu for soups because it seems to hold up just a bit better. Now I also had some extra yamagobo hanging around, and this is pickled burdock. I love the flavor of this, but this is going to be our pickled item to go alongside all of our dishes. I'm also going to throw in a little bit of fresh bell pepper just to kind of give it that fresh crunch, but again, you could use carrots, you could use celery, you could use cucumbers, whatever you really have laying around. Now we have our shiso leaf, our green onions, our tofu, and our pickles and peppers. Now what's great about a plate set like this is that you can really serve it with anything, but because of the egg and the miso soup and the rice, I do like to have some pickles in there. We're gonna throw some kimchi on there. Eat it with barbecue sauce. Do whatever you want to do. It's been about 15 or 20 minutes now, and our egg is totally cooled and gelled down. This is super important again because when we go to cut it, you don't want it to fall apart. Now, since we used 8 whole eggs for this, I do want to cut this into 8 even pieces. To do that, we're going to cut this in half, then cut those halves in half, then cut those halves in half, and this should give us 8 equal-ish pieces. Now, when we look at the egg, it has nice layers to it, and honestly, it's a little misshapen. I could do a lot better than this, and we're going to give this some practice later. Now, I don't have a nice flat plate, so I'm going to use, honestly, this is the top of a bento box. This is going to work. I think he had 5 portions worth of egg on each plate, so that's what we're going to go with, but keep in mind that is also 5 whole eggs, so feel free to not eat that many eggs. He also garnished it with the shiso leaf, which I forgot, so we're gonna go ahead and place that on there, and look at it. Gorgeous golden, yellow, and green. There was also a bit of seaweed salad, and this is some of my favorite stuff. I absolutely love this. Add your bardock root and your bell peppers or whatever vegetables you're using with a little bit of kimchi because why not? And then finally, grab yourself your soup bowl, throw in a bit of your tofu, followed by some fresh green onions, and then dump in all of your miso soup. This actually just made one bowl worth as I get it all over the counter, but it was plenty for us. I also had steamed some white rice, and we're gonna add this to our overall plate, but we can't forget Spam musubi. Yes, this is a thing. It's amazing. Don't judge me. It's delicious. Unravel your Spam musubi from its glorious plastic, and we are done. Except Gandalf. I think Gandalf wants a little bit. Ah, and the coup de grace, some chopsticks. These are actually from Universal Studios Japan. I thought that was really neat. I've had these for so long. Place these right in the middle, snap some photos. And it's easy as that, guys. The Tamagoyaki set from Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel. Now, this is in a lot of anime and a bunch of video games, but I will say it's super good, pretty easy to make, and it holds up really well as leftovers. Now, there's only one thing to do, and that's to eat all of this and then immediately go work out because it's a lot of egg. I have to have the Spam. Can't not. Let's just eat it. That is exactly how I like my egg. Still a little underdone, but still really gorgeous. Like there's a little bit of underdone right there, which honestly you could cook out, but I really like that. Oh God, it's a lot of egg. The egg is super creamy. It's really nice. It's a little bit sweet from the mirin. The soy sauce gives it a lot of flavor. Oh, so good. Here's our really simple cheat miso soup. Nice saltiness from the miso. You have the freshness of the green onion, the little bit of a meatiness from the tofu. Oh, this is really nice. Really clean, really easy to make. I love chuka or seaweed salad. This to me is a perfect lunch set. Again, all the accompaniments are totally up to you. Have this however you want, with whatever you want. Put it into a sandwich, make yourself a nice tamagoyaki pan, serve it with some noodles. Honestly, guys, this is the starting point. My name is Chef PK, here on Foodie Friday, bringing anime and video game food to life. Get subscribed, and remember, keep playing with your food. It's so good. Like, this is so good.
Where else to go? It's only up from there. I've been on my own, just running through the fields, vivid for the